The allure of nomadic life could no longer be ignored. Intrigued with life on the road and the American landscape, we traveled 5,000 miles and 10 states. If even for a brief time, we were imposter gypsies, searching for the end of the white line.
We braved busy crowds at unique state parks. As well as amazing national parks and national monuments. We experienced the peaceful solitude of dense forests, and expansive mountains. Lonesome highways, and the nooks and crannies of America. Places we may very likely never see again. Places we hope to return. We met the locals. As well as the wildlife in the margins along the way. As it was, they were one and the same. Tourist traps on the main thoroughfare. Forgotten relics of days past. And big reminders of natural grandeur. We traveled the furthest we've ever been from home together and experienced the power of seeing things for the very first time. The morning we were to begin our trek, we received a call from a ranger at our first intended stopover of Makashika State Park near Glendive, Montana. As it was, there were active wildfires within park boundaries. The campground was closed. Our first night would end up being much closer to home than had hoped. A sweltering hot day gave way to a stormy evening. Everything behind us began to wash away. The road ahead became more clear. The day-to-day life of home began to fade away. The excitement for the weeks to come set in.
"25 miles east of Billings, on the north side of I-94, sits Pompey's Pillar National Monument. Maintained by Bureau of Land Management, the monument hosts great interpretive info about the historical site, as well as a visitor center complete with a gift shop. The area also provides short hikes and picnic areas. Having yet many miles to travel, we beelined it for the main attraction.
Climbing the boardwalk stairs to the most substantial, lasting physical evidence of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Carved into the sandstone natural waypoint, proof that on July 25, 1806, William Clark stood in this exact place. He left his mark.
Moving west of Billings brought us to the Crazy Mountains.
Simply known as the Crazies, multiple legends exist as to how the Crazies were named. One revolves around a family of early settlers. All but the mother were killed by either a bear or natives. After the attack, the mother chose to live alone in the mountains. It drove her crazy. Another lore tells of a curse put on the mountains by Native American tribes. Forced off ancestral lands onto reservations, natives cursed the mountains to bring bad weather and high winds in hope of driving the white man crazy.
We set up camp near the Crazies and drove into town. Situated about 60 miles north of Yellowstone National Park is Livingston, Montana.
We bummed around the well-maintained and well-preserved downtown and grabbed a bite to eat. We highly recommend The Mint. Excellent food and homemade ketchup. We explored the area south of town a bit before settling in for the evening.
We hopped off I-90 to Highway 55 and 41 South through Jefferson Valley. .278 took us into the arid sagelands and Bannock State Park.
The town of Bannock was founded in 1862 after Montana's first major gold discovery in Grasshopper Creek on July 28th. The gold rush brought thousands of people to the area, swelling the town's population to 3,000 at its peak. By 1864, Bannock had become Montana's first territorial capital. Over time, gold values fell and bigger cities took precedent. The thriving mining town dwindled to nothing more than an isolated tiny community and eventually an abandoned relic of days gone by. The ghost town of Bannock was made a Montana State Park in the 1960s. Interestingly as well is Bannock's history with the outlaws and vigilante justice. It seems that some of those who may have seen the inside of the jail cell also saw the gallows on the edge of town and their final resting place among other townsfolk in the hilltop graveyard overlooking the town of Bannock.
As we follow 273 and 43 out of Montana, at its end is a peculiar area. Traveling west into Idaho, you cross over the state line and then back into Montana just long enough to see the sign that reads "Welcome to Montana." Then a left at the T in the road brings you back into Idaho.
U.S. Highway 93 follows the Salmon River through the middle of Idaho. This route is one of the most beautiful drives we've experienced. We camped at a very well-maintained private campground south of Salmon, named Elk Bend. At sunrise the next morning, we headed to a trail in the northern Lemhi mountain range in the Salmon Challis National Forest. an area known for paranormal activity. A moderate to strenuous hike into and up the mountainside passes by some really great backcountry camping areas and leads to Gold Bug Hot Springs. The hot spring pools grew warmer the higher we climbed. Possibly reaching the spring's source, the highest we climbed, the water temperature peaks at 130 degrees.
After soaking in the natural hot springs, we continued south on 93 to Chalice, where we took Highway 75 into the Sawtooth Mountain Range. At Stanley, we followed Highway 21 into another beautiful drive through Boise National Forest. High into the Boise Mountains and winding through the thick forest, we headed south for Boise and I-84. Exiting west off I-84 into Oregon on Highway 20. Route 20 took us up through the high desert area of East Oregon. Geographically known as the Columbia Plateau, it gives way to the Great Basin and the Harney Basin. Seated near the borderlands of East Oregon's high desert and the Harney Basin is Crystal Crane Hot Springs Resort.
In addition to private cabins, suites, and even teepees, the resort offers an RV park. The very well-maintained RV park was unique to us in the way of the wide open desert plain layout. The well-kept resort revolves around its 100-degree hot spring pool. The public hot spring pool is available to overnight guests 24/7, making for a wonderful stargazing or sunrise soak. This diamond in the desert is well worth the drive.
Entering into the Harney Basin region is entering into a seemingly endless sea of sagebrush. The overwhelming aroma of sage intensifies as the heat of the day rises. Sagebrush expands as far as the eye can see. In the midst of this sea of sagebrush is a strange area known as Christmas Lake Valley. In this valley is the oddity of a town named Christmas Valley. The oddity of this town is that it's seemingly in the middle of nowhere with no apparent industry or occupation. Wikipedia tells us this.
In 1961, developer M. Penn Phillips laid out the town site, including its fanciful holiday street names, such as Candy Lane, Mistletoe Road, Comet Street, and Vixen Street. The Christmas Valley Airport, a way system, a golf course, a lodge, rodeo grounds, and artificial lake, originally named Christmas Valley Lake, and now called Barrett Lake. Phillips aggressively promoted the community in California to young would-be farmers and retirees, often providing free bus tours and flights and marketing the potential of the land as green and readily farmed. The company quickly sold all the parcels. Though despite Phillips' claim that the community would soon have more than 5,000 residents, few actually moved there. In 1966, in an Oregon tax court decision about the tax valuation of Christmas Lake property, Judge Edward Howell opined the land, at least in its present condition, is arid, dusty, windy, isolated, and subject to extreme temperatures. In the early 1970s, the Phillips Company faced lawsuits about misrepresentation of the property, and the Phillips era is usually considered a scam.
Whatever the case, Christmas Valley is a strange place to pass through.
If the Simile Sage Sea had a shoreline, it would be around 25 to 30 miles west of Christmas Valley, maybe near Silver Lake. It's around here that the sagebrush begins to taper off and give way to pines and grassland. Eventually entering into the Klamath Marsh. From the marshes, you can begin to see the Cascade Mountains, as well as the mountainous rim of Crater Lake.
Off Highway 62, south of Crater Lake, is Annie Creek Snow Park. Generally used as a parking lot and warming house for winter activities, the snow park is used in the summer months as free dry camping. Near the approach to the area are vault toilets. To the right of the parking lot is a Forest Service road providing sporadic dispersed campsites. The road and its sites are not conducive to large rigs.
The spot we found was one of the best sites we've ever camped in. Crater Lake National Park. The absolutely awe-inspiring vista of Crater Lake took us by surprise. While Crater Lake was never really high on our list of things to see, it quickly became evident that it was likely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The fact remains that it is one of the most prized national park passport stamps. It was very busy, and while we tend to avoid crowds of tourists, it was worth it. The unique sights like the July snowpack and the mountainous views were unbelievable. The geological and frankly biblical significance were undeniable. While the drive loop with its numerous pull-off viewpoints would have been worth braving the crowds, we had our eye on the prize. With the limited time we had in the area, we beelined it for the Cleetwood Cove Trail. The Cleetwood Cove Trail is the only access to the shore of Crater Lake. The steep 700-foot 2-mile trail to shore access provides opportunities for boat tours, fishing, and swimming. Not only did we want to see the volcanic crater from the ground zero, but Cleetwood Cove Trail was scheduled to close the following season for major upgrades. The closure was expected to take about 4 years.
Once on the rocky shore of the lake, an unexpected desire to swim the clear, clean, icy water took hold. The unshakable feeling of the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity drove me to dive in. It was an unforgettable experience. On our way out of the Crater Lake area on Highway 62, we made a spontaneous stop at the Upper Rogue Gorge Natural Bridge. Prehistoric lava tubes reroute the river flow below ground for 200 feet, creating a naturally formed bridge over the river surface. power of the flowing water has created over thousands of years potholes in the volcanic rock, as well as blowholes through the lava tube ceilings to the surface above. When we arrived in Crescent City, we checked into a campground north of town, had a bite to eat, and found a place to do laundry.
After that, we took a quick little drive north on the 101 and found beach access. The public beach access we found was Crissy Field, an Oregon State Park state recreation site, about a mile from the California-Oregon border. we quietly roamed the beach. Embracing the vastness of the outwardly endless void that lay before us, comprehending the absolute power of the Pacific Ocean. Perceiving an image our eyes had never seen before. Once we began to assimilate to our foreign surroundings, we explored the area, feeling the water and sand through our fingers. Examining the rocks and driftwood.
Pretty wild.
Admiring the nearby beachfront homes. Watching the birds fly low over the water. We embraced the joy of sharing this moment of being together in the furthest place we've ever been from home.